Jory, finish up your point.
Hey, so it goes beyond telling location and pictures of yourself. You know, now there's questionnaires which tell you, you fill out these questionnaires that tells you which country you should live in, to what kind of fruits you resemble. And there's also things where you pick your 5 top sport teams, 5 objects by you. And it seems to me like too much of, it's kind of bizarre that some non-profit company is interested in setting up all these little questionnaires to answer these things. It just seems like they're taking information from you, and there's even ones where you put in just normal, like, passport-style photos, you know what I mean, not in a group, and it changes your face to a celebrity lookalike or a cartoon. It just seems like people are free will updating all these photos on here, these information. It doesn't seem like a smart idea. Like, there's obviously something behind this. It's not, you don't offer these free services for nothing. So,
well, you know what? These people would rather have you volunteer your information than seem intrusive when they ask you about it.
Absolutely.
And they are really able to profile the vast majority of people on Facebook. I'm sure I'm profiled. I have something like around 2,000 friends on Facebook. I got about 7,500 on MySpace. And I try to keep, my personal life pretty personal. I'm not one of those guys that posts a bunch of pictures of where I was. I know there's those people out there. There are people that post pictures of me. But I keep, my MySpace and my Facebook basically about, what I do professionally, what I believe in, to get the message out. But there are those people that are constantly like, I'm over here, I'm over there. They can also build a pattern of where you go, what you do in a day. And I do think that's very dangerous, and people don't realize that Facebook is one of the top 10 websites in the world. So is MySpace. It's right up there with Google and Yahoo. I mean, it's bigger than any porn site out there. And outside of the news, porn is the biggest thing on the internet. It goes search engines, Facebook, MySpace, news and porn. And then, you start shooting into the upper echelons. But the things that I'm talking about are, ranked sometimes 1, 10, less than 100 all the time. So it's very dangerous when people are just volunteering everything about themselves on an open source website. Forget about the government. Let's talk about psycho killers out there. But the problem is when psycho killers do actually do something like this Craigslist killer, the government then in turn uses that, just like this MySpace case where this woman posed as a young man who was interested in this young girl and then dumped her and told her to kill herself, and she did. And that's the basis for the Cyberbullying Act. So they always, hop on its back and try to use that as an example. And that's another dangerous aspect of sharing everything you do on a website. I thank you very much for the call, Jory. All right, let's play this clip of Glenn Beck and Campaign for Liberty. No fan of Beck, big fan of Campaign for Liberty. Hit the clip.
Well, Timothy Geithner is in China.
I'd like more, please. Just a little more, please.
This is the first time he's been there since he's the Treasury Secretary. He told a crowd at Peking University that, quote, Chinese financial assets are very safe. The students laughed. Angel Robinson is with the Campaign for Liberty, an organization defending American principles and individual liberty. Angel, I have to ask you first, what is the Campaign for Liberty? Is this one of the, because I mean, is it funded by like the anti-George Soros or what?
No.
What is it?
It's a grassroots organization focused on making sure that we preserve liberty, defend the Constitution, uphold the Constitution, make sure that we hold the representatives accountable to the people. We just want to make sure that if we have this contract with the government, they should be following the contract.
Okay. H.R. 1207, what is it?
H.R. 1207 is the Federal Reserve Transparency Act of 2009. It is an amendment to the original Federal Reserve Act of 1913. In the original bill, the audit of the Fed was severely limited. Basically, you can't audit the Fed unless the Fed says, okay, come look, come check and see what we're doing, make sure that everything's okay, which, they're not going to do. You also can't find, yeah. They won't let us know what type of discussions and agreements they make with foreign governments, and that's really important to know. We don't know if the decisions they make are politicized. If they put the monetary policy stamp on it, it's basically secret, and we have no idea why they're making the decisions and what effects they'll have on the economy. The Federal Reserve has a mandate to protect the dollar and to stabilize the economy. They haven't done either of those, and so we definitely need to find out what's going on.
Okay. All right. Angel, I have to ask you, I think the Federal Reserve is a nightmare. Yeah. It's just a nightmare. But I have to ask you, how did you get involved? Because people who are into let's abolish the Fed, they're all geeks. You're a mom. You're like a normal human being. How did you get involved?
Right. Through the presidential elections, I started to pay a lot more attention. What with the war and the economy on the decline, it made sense that I should find out what's going on in my country. And so I started to read. I read a great book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, which I advise everyone to read because it is great at letting you know how this creature came to being and exactly how it affects the economy. And the more I looked into it, the more I said, well, this isn't right. They're operating on an economic model that doesn't make sense to me. And I'm just an average American. I'm not an expert on anything. But a lot of this is common sense.
Let me just say this to America. Angel is not a, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not a spokesperson or anything for this organization. You were somebody that you were in our studio audience. And you got a tattoo on your arm. You're just cool. Right. And you asked a question about the Fed, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So you're not a spokesman. You are just, I'm putting you on television because you're an average mom.
Right. I'm a precinct coordinator. Anybody can be a precinct coordinator. Go to campaignforliberty.com and sign up, and you'll have the opportunity to talk to your neighbors about things that are important to you. If you live in the New York area, go to nyccfl.com. But no, I'm not a spokesperson for anything but liberty. This is my country, and I want to make sure that I am encouraging my neighbors to pay attention, get informed about what's going on, and then take action.
You're the best. Angel, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, there it is, folks. And, no fan of Glenn Beck, but she got off what she needed to say. She talked about The Creature from Jekyll Island on Fox News. That's great. If you haven't read The Creature from Jekyll Island, I encourage you to do so. If you're not familiar with G. Edward Griffin's great work, you need to be. We need to get him back on the program. Maybe we'll get him on Money Bomb night, because he was on the original Money Bomb, and that's coming up in 9 days now. Wow, coming up really quick. And I think the way we're going to run it is that Jones is going to promote the Money Bomb on his show, then we're going to do this show in the evening, and then he is going to wrap up the Money Bomb the next day on his following show. We haven't worked all the kinks out, but we are hoping to garner at least another $250,000 so we can get The Office Next tour and expand, the Infowar even further. We're giving you 5 hours of PrisonPlanet.tv plus a day and 7 hours of radio a day, live radio a day. It's not cheap, folks. It's not easy, and we do have a small staff here, and we do want to expand. We want to have a weekend program. We want to have something more like an Inside Edition or, an NBC News project. I mean, we want that, but you can't imagine how hard it is to do just what we do here. All right, let's go to Patrick in Washington. Patrick, you're on the line.
Hey, Jason. How's it going?
Good, man.
Yeah, I had a question for you. I recently discovered this other documentary filmmaker, and I was curious if you've had a chance to see any of his work and what you think of some of the work he's done. His name is Lennon Honor. He has a YouTube channel called Lennon Honor Films and a website of the same name.
What are the movies?
That's the interesting thing. He covers a plethora of issues. He covers a lot of the politics, like you and Alex does with his documentary "Presidential Elections Are a Fraud," and he also covers a lot of history involving the media and entertainment, using mind control and stuff like that.
I may have seen some YouTube clips. People send me stuff all the time, but I got to tell you, the title of the movie you just told me doesn't ring a bell. The guy's name doesn't ring a bell either. Can you tell me anything else he's done? Any other of the movies?
Oh yeah, he just came out with his latest one called Who is Oro Oyagamунde, and that has to do with some of his esoteric work, basically kind of like Jordan Maxwell type stuff.
He didn't do the Codex Alimentarius movie, did he?
No, he did not. No.
See, I watched the esoteric agenda film that was basically about Codex Alimentarius and more. That's probably the last, YouTube, Google video type documentary I've watched all the way through, and that was probably about 6 months ago. So send it to me over at myspace.com/Jason Bermas, and if I get the time, I'll definitely check it out. I'm always into new things, and I'm always into new filmmakers. I thank you for the call, Patrick. Alan in Virginia.